Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Sandstone Care Inspire and Empower Change live broadcast series. Today, Jess and I are happy to welcome a few guests with us today. We have John and James, who we're going to talk about in a second, and we're going to go into their practice, what they do, and stick around because anybody who might be coming to the training this Friday here at Sandstone Care, which these two are going to be putting on, we're going to give you a little idea of what that training's about, what they're going to be talking about, and give you sort of a sneak peek of what that's about. So, guys, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking some time out
Of
here
course,
today.
yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Love it. So let's get right in to talk about what these guys do and how they uniquely serve their population. So, John, why don't you just introduce everybody to who you are, who you treat, what your practice is, and where you're at.
All right, I'm John Bundrick. I have a practice out in the West Littleton area called Bienville Counseling. I'm a licensed professional counselor and in process of getting my licensed addiction counselor. I'm also an international certified gambling counselor level 2. So that's sort of my specialty, but I had the great pleasure of working here at Sandstone Care for a year and a half. I worked with the young adult population 18 to 30 and love working with that population. So I'm also looking to work with that particular group of clients in my private practice.
I love that, man. And when we were talking a little earlier, we wanted to really kind of nail down something we were going to talk about with gambling and the screening process for gambling. You're really passionate about that. And oftentimes there are things that people might miss or not really pay attention to when it comes to the screening of gambling. So why don't you share with everybody, any clinicians that are watching or any treatment centers, kind of that other side of the screening when it comes to gambling.
Absolutely. I worked in a residential facility in Louisiana for gambling primary, and that's where I really kind of learned what was going on and just became very passionate about gambling. And so when I moved up to Colorado, I realized that one of the things that I could provide in this community is the skills around treatment of gambling. But one thing that's really important for mental health clinicians as well as substance abuse counselors and programs is the ability to screen. So many of the clients with substance use issues also can have gambling issues, and they go undetected because gambling is what is called the silent addiction. It usually doesn't emerge until there's a major crisis. So I'm getting out, I'm talking to as many providers as I can, I'm going to facilities, and I'm just trying to help them learn some basic screening skills and provide them with some resources.
Love that, man. Awesome.
Thanks.
And Jess, why don't you introduce our other guest?
James, so happy you're here. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
James, tell us a little bit about your practice.
Well, yeah, so actually my practice overlaps with John's pretty well. I do a lot of work with addiction, substance abuse, compulsive behavior, that kind of thing, with like tweens and teens, but also 20-somethings.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I hit like that same kind of like 12 to, I mean, I'd like to say like 28, but that mindset kind of, my experience has been that it extends to about 65 for some people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, just working with people who are trying to like figure it out and like round that corner and just like get their life back, you know, lost folks who want to take control again.
Mm-hmm. And you were also a licensed addiction counselor.
Yeah, so I'm LPC, LAC. I do a lot of work with like mindfulness interventions. I do a lot of like interventions that are informed by existential therapy, which, you know, on account of being absurdly overeducated, I figured I should get some kind of value out of that, you know? So, yeah.
Awesome. And you have a very unique approach to group work.
I do.
Tell us a little bit about your groups.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in group therapy. I think it really works. And you know, to that end, I've been a member of the board of the Four Corners Group Psychotherapy Society. It's a little plug for the past 2 or 3 years. And I've started doing groups for like young teens. So like this is like 11 to 14, 15 maybe. Sometimes a little older if circumstances work out, but usually that sort of tween age group where we play D&D together.
And for those that don't know, D&D is?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So it's I've been like a lifelong turbo nerd. And I just thought, again, like maybe this could work. And it's really good for that age group because like my experience with them is they get missed a lot. Like they don't have their voices yet. But like you can't, like they don't want to engage through play therapy. Like if you try and do like sand tray with an 11-year-old, I mean, you're just gonna look like an idiot. It's not gonna work. But they don't really want to, like they resent talk therapy sometimes. And so like I try and meet them in the middle and do a game about talking. And like some of the stuff that comes out is wild. And my experience has been, it's like surprisingly effective, like way more than I ever thought it would be. So yeah, it's been really great.
That's awesome. Well, I know we've referred several clients your way, and they have given us a lot of great feedback with that group in particular.
Cool.
So you guys have a training coming up on Friday here at Sandstone, 9 a.m.
A sold out training,
A
right?
sold out training, yes. It's going to be a full house here. And the training is titled Fantasies and Families, Working with the Systemic, Unreal, and Addiction Recovery. Did I get it?
Boom!
That was a mouthful.
That is a
It was
mouthful.
a mouthful and you nailed it. Way to go.
Thank you. So yeah, share with us a little bit about what that training is going to entail.
I'll start. Yeah, it's a talk that really generated out of James and I would go get coffee, and we would just sort of riff on, hey, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? And a lot of times we were really puzzled, and it usually had to deal with the family systems, particularly like when I was working at Sandstone, and even when I was working in residential. And we looked at like, what's their belief system as they're coming in? There's the client belief system, there's each member of the family, there's the family system.
There's the therapist belief system.
Yeah, and
True.
that's what we really started looking at was how do we see the family and their fantasy thinking, where does it come from, and then maybe how are we distancing ourselves and what you referred to as othering them, which I loved.
Yeah.
So maybe you can.
Yeah. God, I'm trying to like search the memory banks for this othering conversation.
Those are the best kinds, right?
Yeah.
They happen in
About
the
that
moment.
handoff.
But yeah, I mean, I think like the experience that we kept having was like we would work with these families, and we're both people who like really believe like for addiction work in particular, like working with the whole family system is absolutely necessary. And we kept running into these problems where it's like you think you have buy-in from the parents, you know, you're like, okay, well like we all want like this client to improve and like have a life and like, you know, not get themselves in further trouble. And then you'd sort of see it's like, wait a second, hold on, these parents might not be as committed to that like in their minds as they say up front. Or as they even realize. And like we started exploring like what is the family system fantasy that's going on here, you know? And how do we actually engage with that thing? And it's been pretty cool work. I mean, this presentation has us going all over the place. We're talking about, of course, fantasy work, but we're talking about like existential psychotherapy, family systems, motivational interviewing, improv.
Millennials.
Millennials.
Yep.
Yeah, it started as a millennial talk, and then we realized that we needed to look at the bigger picture and from a sociological standpoint, what's going on for the entire family as these kids are growing up, and what's going on systemically as well, but more importantly, like what's the pressure on this system so that by the time they get into treatment, they have these expectations, and how do we join with them? And we looked at this thing like started, and it's just become question after question, and I don't know, we just loved doing the research, and it turned into research I had never heard of.
Yeah.
And so we're thrilled that hopefully some people will get some information that they may not have seen before. And
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. Very, very excited. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the training?
Just if you're coming, be prepared. It might be more fun than you expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something to look forward to.
Fun guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to play.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're really, really excited this Friday at Sandstone Care Denver. Networking and registrations from 8:30 to 9, and the presentations from 9 to 12? 12. So 3 continuing education credits for those who are in need of those. How can we find out more about, how can viewers get a hold of you guys for either group or individual work?
Well, for me, the best way would be through my website, jamescoleabrams.com. Yeah, got all my contact info up there. So
Awesome.
And we'll have you after the broadcast just comment below with that. So
Okay.
it's in there so people can visit that.
cool.
And how about you, John?
You can look at bienvillecounseling.com, or you can go to Psychology Today. That might be another route to get there. So you get the phone number and the email address as well as the website.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having us.
Yeah.
We are so excited for Friday. And thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in today for Sandstone Care's Inspire and Empower Change podcast.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for stopping by.